Hello, everyone, and welcome to Teachable University. And in this lecture, we're going to be expanding on my first lecture on the power of the subconscious mind. So, in part two of this series on the subconscious, we're going to be exploring the idea of intuition and how to use our gut instincts in order to be able to make better decisions and solve problems. So, I want to start with a quote from Dr. Joseph Murphy, who said, "The secret of guidance or right action is to mentally devote yourself to the right answer until you find its response in you. The response is a feeling, an inner awareness, and an overpowering hunch whereby you know that you know." And all of us have had hunches or uh, gut experiences or gut instincts that we followed to help make decisions on a given basis. And it could be for small decisions, such as maybe just following a hunch and deciding whether or not we should approach a stranger to talk to, or maybe making a decision at work. Or it could be for larger decisions as far as deciding whether or not you're going to purchase a home or what investment to make or other similar decisions. But we all have this gut instinct that we have, but oftentimes we don't really listen to it, or we suppress these hunches because of our analytical mind, or we tend to be overly analytical and we rely on our external environment when it comes to seeking out answers to given problems. And I think what Dr. Joseph Murphy discusses in his book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, is that in order for us to change our external environment, it requires going within and using our inner or internal resources to be able to come up with solutions for specific problems. And when Albert Einstein, he actually was a big supporter, proponent of using your intuition. And in fact, he credits visualization and intuition rather than logic or mathematics to create the theory of relativity. And in fact, it was after the fact, through math, that the theory of relativity was proven to be correct at the time. So Einstein really credits intuition and following your gut instinct and using those internal resources of your mind to be able to solve problems and come up with new insights and solutions that can transform your life and the world around you. So it's using this higher version of ourselves, this deeper mind that Dr. Joseph Murphy and Albert Einstein are talking about here. These gut instincts that we have that we don't use enough because, again, we tend to be overly analytical and overthink. So the intuitive mind, according to Einstein, is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have credited a society that honors a servant and has forgotten the gift. And this quote is just as relevant today as it was when it was said all those years ago by Einstein. That today we reward rational behavior or logical or linear thinking or cause and effect thinking, where if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And unfortunately, life isn't always like that. And we see this often with experts in many different fields, whether in politics and economics and medicine, etc. Experts who pontificate and try to predict an outcome. But how often have we seen experts to be wrong in predicting a particular outcome, whether it's predicting who's going to win a presidential election or what is going to happen with the economy, say a year or so from now? And in so many different fields, we've seen how experts have gotten it wrong. I think, and the part of it is that experts are taught to be overly rational because they have a very narrow window or a very narrow view of areas of expertise. And I think what Einstein is talking about is using and combining unrelated ideas that subconsciously can help us come up with solutions to a given problem. So to better understand this, let's look at this image here of really this two modes of thought or thinking that can be broken down into the conscious mind and subconscious mind. So the conscious mind is where our thoughts, our analytical reasoning, our willpower, and our memory reside. So for example, how I'm creating this lecture right now is by using my analytical reasoning. I'm basically using my senses to organize information and be able to share it with you today. Now, the subconscious is where our beliefs, our habits, our emotions, our imagination reside, or really where we have our personality traits or unconscious involuntary reactions to our external environment. If you think about how we live our lives every single day. We engage in activities and habits that pretty much are repetitive in nature. Most of us do the same things every single day, from the same route we take to work, to the same breakfast we have, to the same conversations we have with people. We do the same things repetitively every single day. And repetition over time cements personality traits, or it cements our personality that creates our personal reality. And how this is created is through the use of our five senses. What we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. We use our five senses as a way to navigate through our external environment. And it is through these five senses that we learn how to analyze information that can be impressed on the subconscious. And whatever information we impress on the subconscious repetitively over time cements certain beliefs and habits and emotions and imaginative thoughts that govern our behavior, whether we realize it or not. And it's this subconscious, this deeper version of ourselves that really has a significant amount of power, because there's a saying that the brain is always listening. So think of the subconscious as like a warehouse, or the brain as a warehouse of all the information we've absorbed, the experiences, the emotions that we've had, everything that we've learned and experienced in our lives is stored in this subconscious that over time cements certain behaviors that are positive, but also could be negative. And this also cements our beliefs that can also govern our decisions that we make every single day. So what's happening subconsciously then, and Einstein credits this and has explored this topic, something called combinatory play. Combinatory play is the act of opening up one mental channel by dabbling in another. In other words, it is taking two unrelated things and putting them together to generate new ideas. So what does this mean? Well, it means is that subconsciously, we're making neural connections between unrelated ideas, from the images and sounds and things that we've tasted to the concepts that we've learned through the five senses. And we're combining these ideas subconsciously that can create a new idea, or creates new behaviors or new ways of thinking. So there's a lot happening underneath the surface of our conscious mind. Consciously, we can only be aware of so many things at a given time. But subconsciously, as I said, this is a warehouse of all the information and images and sounds and things that we've seen and experienced and heard, and really how we've experienced through our senses, that over time, when it's combined subconsciously, can create new ideas. And this is an excerpt from the book Wired to Create by Scott Barry Kaufman. I highly recommend you read this. It's really a fantastic book on the nature and the science behind creativity. And he says that we know now that intuition is a form of thinking, but it's a different mode of cognition than the one we use for conscious, effortful deliberation. Intuition arises from unconscious or spontaneous information processing systems, and it plays an important role in how we think, reason, create, and behave socially. So there's a conception of thinking where we ponder about a particular idea and we're analyzing and we're totally focused on trying to solve a problem. And there is merit to that, but there's other forms of thinking. And other forms of thinking, it includes this intuition, where we're following our gut instinct. We're not so much using information from our external environment, but we're relying on inner resources to come up with a solution that has been validated from our external environment. And when you think about any product or service or invention that's ever been created, it all started with an idea. There wasn't necessarily anything in the external environment to validate that idea was possible. And this goes back to Einstein's theory of relativity. There wasn't necessarily anything in the realm of science or mathematics to prove that he was correct at first. It was only after the fact. So it's following this intuition, this gut instinct that we have, that can have a profound impact. So it's another form of thinking, a deeper form of thinking that doesn't require as much effort. Effort meaning we're not as analytical. We begin acting out on our ideas. Again, that can lead to new insights and possibilities and experiences that could be life-changing. So again, going back to this breakup here of the conscious and subconscious mind. Okay, we talk about different modes of thinking. There's conscious and subconscious thinking. There's also, as Scott Kaufman talks in his book, Wired to Create, there's type 1 and type 2 mental processes that, again, just explain how the way we think can be broken up into conscious and subconscious thinking, and how we use these interchangeably, and how we can really use these to our advantage. And what we impress on the subconscious can make a profound impact on our beliefs and our habits and our personality. So if we impress in the subconscious negative content, and again, we're bombarded with this on a daily basis, just turn on the news or social media, it's everywhere. So when we constantly distract ourselves with information that is not beneficial to helping us grow and come up with new insights that can inspire us, then that's where problems arise when it comes to lack of focus and the inability to come up with new insights and use this subconscious mind correctly. So, really going back to this idea of combinatory play, there's been studies where they've taken two groups, with one group doing mental arithmetic or some other mental activity, and another group that's basically resting and not doing anything. And they would do fMRI scans or brain scans, where they would do brain scans of both groups. And what they would find was quite remarkable, is that they would find that the brain activity of the group that is resting is just as active as the brains of the group that is conducting mental arithmetic. Why is that? Because the brain subconsciously, as I've said, there's something happening underneath the surface where there's profound brain activity, this combinatory play. We're constantly combining different unrelated ideas and images and sounds, and again, things that we've experienced through our five senses. By making these connections, we can come up with something new. And again, what we impress on the subconscious and how we navigate the conscious and subconscious mind can really make a profound impact. It can really change the way we think. And we've seen now, thanks to neuroplasticity, that the brain can change, even at an advanced age. The brain can change, but it depends on how we impress the subconscious that determines how much the brain can change, whether for the better or worse. So Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, in his book Finding Flow, he says, if you are interested in something, you will focus on it. And if you focus attention on anything, it is likely that you will become interested in it. Many of the things we find interesting are not so by nature, but because we took the trouble of paying attention to them. So what Mihaly is discussing here is that in order for us to really utilize these higher mental faculties, it requires really focusing on what it is that we want to accomplish. And that starts really with asking the right questions, by not getting distracted, by really being specific and clear about what it is that you would like to accomplish. And then taking the time not just to work on an activity, but also take the time to step away from it and realize that underneath the surface of our conscious mind, that our brain is just as active and can come up with a solution to a given problem. Again, what we impress on the subconscious, if we use it correctly, by asking ourselves the right questions, by exposing ourselves to beneficial information, can have a really profound impact on how the brain changes and really entering these flow experiences. What is flow? Flow is when we're totally immersed in a given activity. We're so immersed in it, time seems to stand still. And we're basically in the zone. And a lot of athletes experience this, especially high-level athletes who basically engaging in these death-defying stunts where they're almost risking their lives. They've attested to experiencing moments where they almost feel like they're invincible. And it's because they're in this flow state. They're not overly analytical. They begin acting out on these higher mental faculties found in our subconscious. So how can we use our gut instinct to solve problems and improve our lives and become more productive and happier and come up with new insights that can really change our lives and change the world and change our businesses and careers and personal lives? Well, for one thing, we have to stop being overly analytical. And Analysis is important, but sometimes we get into information paralysis where we paralyze ourselves because we overthink. Start to begin thinking about ideas that you've had in the past, things that you've wanted to do, or hunches that you've had, and begin acting out on them. This doesn't mean being reckless per se, as far as doing things that can hurt yourself and hurt others, but start to begin acting out on your ideas and take some risks and put skin in the game. And when you do that, when you learn how to manage and take risks, you can use risks to your advantage and to be able to improve your life. Also begin thinking about how you're thinking. Now, I know that sounds maybe paradoxical because I'm telling you not to think as much and be overly analytical, but I think it's important that we explore our thought processes and how we make decisions on a given daily basis and determine if what we're doing is giving us the results that we want. And if it isn't giving us the results that we want, then perhaps we have to be more deliberate in how we change and make new decisions that can reshape our personalities and our personal reality. This is also very important. Take a break. There's been plenty of studies that have shown that going for walks, exercising, socializing, or just taking a shower can give us these mental breaks that can help us have these aha moments where we come up with a sudden insight to or solution to a given problem. And again, this is because our brains are just as active when we're resting or stepping away from a given activity. Also, be clear about what you want. Get specific about what it is that you want to accomplish and what you want to do. Be clear about that. Be as specific as possible. Vague questions come up with vague results. And if you're vague about what it is that you want, or you don't ask the right questions, and you're not specific and clear about what it is that you want to accomplish, it becomes much more difficult for our brain to act like a laser-guided missile and really focus on what it is that we want. We're goal-oriented creatures, and that's how our brain operates the most efficiently, is that when we have a specific goal and we know we want to accomplish and the reasons why we want to accomplish it, we can achieve it. So the secret of success is learning how to use pain and pleasure instead of having pain and pleasure use you. If you do that, you're in control of your life. If you don't, life controls you. So what does this have to do with the subconscious? Well, if you look at the decisions that we make every day, and Tony Robbins makes a great point of this, that we make decisions in order to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. And oftentimes when we do this, it could be for positive things. We engage in positive habits that can give us pleasure and fulfillment and satisfaction and joy. But other times we engage in activities that perhaps can give us pleasure, but in fact can give us more pain in the long term. Procrastination, or utilizing stimulants or drugs and alcohol, and other negative behaviors that, yes, can give us this momentary pleasure, but in fact it's a way to blunt the pain that we are experiencing. So knowing how to use pain and pleasure to your advantage when it comes to setting goals and making decisions that can help improve your life subconsciously can again make profound changes. So when it comes to setting goals and using the subconscious more efficiently, we want to ask the question as to why. Why is it that we want to accomplish a specific goal? And when we ask this question, why, it can reveal answers that can help us decide whether or not this goal is even worth pursuing. And then there's the what if. What happens if we don't accomplish this goal? What is the pain that we would experience if we don't accomplish it? And then what would happen if we did accomplish it? How would that feel? When we begin exploring pain and pleasure, the pain of not pursuing a particular goal and the pleasure of what would happen if we would experience it, by doing this, it puts our brain into a corner where we're forced to act and we're forced to make decisions because the brain does not like pain. It likes consistency. So when we force ourselves to change by using pain and pleasure as leverage, that can help us make better decisions, and it can help us change course if we need to. Because if we ask ourselves why we're achieving or pursuing a particular goal, and the reasons aren't very compelling, or maybe we need more compelling reasons, or we need to change our goal. In any case, exploring these questions or asking the right questions can help us make a big difference in our lives. So thank you for watching this lecture. And again, I encourage you to visit my website, teachinguniversity.com, You can view all my lectures and courses and subscribe to my email list. And of course, I also recommend you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get my latest lectures on covering various topics in business, entrepreneurship, psychology, and other fields. So thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I'll see you next time.